Hey guys, welcome back. It is time for my success tips on losing weight or just plain transforming your body. So these are things that I have picked up from Jake, as well as other trainers that my husband is friends with, and things that I've read on the internet, and just things from my experience alone. And I have, I don't know, I would say a solid 10 years of experience with this. Before, when I was working out, I was just working out. I wasn't like doing anything like this, but a solid 10 years of experience of changing my body. So I wanted to put together a list of tips that have helped me and that have helped a lot of people in just transforming yourself physically. The number one thing that you really can't do any of this without is consistency. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your food's like or how hard you work out unless you're consistent. That is probably the most important thing to remember, is you have to be consistent. You cannot work out for a couple of days or eat right for a couple of days and then take a few days off and then start up again and then take a few days off. You can't do that because you will not see change. You have to be consistent. If you are eating healthy or eating according to your macros every single meal, every day of the week, maybe 95% of the time, you will see change. If you are going to the gym 4, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, maybe even a little bit less, because everybody's different. But if you are consistently going to the gym every week, you will see your fitness change. Versus if you go a couple days this week, take a week off, go back the next day, you're not gonna see a change. It's gonna be such a slow progress. Just from me going to the gym for the 2 weeks that I have been, I've already noticed me increasing in strength with some of the exercises I'm doing. So because I've been consistent, because I've been, hitting those exercises and hitting the gym a few times a week and really focusing on it, I've actually seen me progress fitness-wise. Consistency is the most important thing. So remember that when you are starting your plan, whatever it's going to be, just keep doing it. Just every single day, just keep doing it, okay? Consistency. The next important thing is nutrition. I've said it before, but nutrition is 80% of your results. So it's extremely important. You need to have your nutrition dialed in. One of the most important things about nutrition is you need to know your macros. And your macros are your protein, carbs, and fats. So kind of a rule of thumb for me is I eat protein. I feel like is the most important. You find out what your protein is and then you kind of work the carbs and fat around it. So my rule of thumb with protein is that for every pound I eat 1 gram of protein. So I'm 120 pounds, I eat 120 grams of protein. And then I figure out my fats and carbs from there. I typically keep my carbs lower on the lower side because I do better that way, and my fats just make up the rest. So I keep my carbs around 60 carbs a day. That gives me enough energy to get through my workouts and everything, so I haven't really needed to increase it. If I'm feeling hungrier, maybe I'll increase it by like 10 or 20 for that day, and I'll just decrease my fats. But my protein usually always stays the same. And how you play with those numbers is you need to know how many calories you're supposed to eat a day. And there are calculators out there that'll tell you that. There are also calculators out there that'll give you your macros. With knowing how many calories you're supposed to eat in a day, you want to consider your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, which is basically how many calories your body burns when it's doing nothing. So if you were to just sit on the couch or lay in bed all day, based on your weight and your height, and maybe even your age, I think it does a calculation and it tells you this is how many calories you burn by doing nothing. And that's pretty much just what it takes for your body to run, your brain to work, your digestive system to work, your heart to pump blood through your body. That's how many calories it takes for your body to function. So for instance, I believe mine is like 1253, something like that. And so I know that if I eat 1253 calories in a day and I did nothing, I would be staying the same. I would maintain my weight. So you need to figure out what your BMR is. And then on top of that, you know that any physical activity that you do, whether it's just walking for the day or you actually go to the gym and you get in a really hard workout, that just adds on top of those 1253 calories. So if I went to the gym and I burned 400 calories for that day, I know I burned at least 1653. Most likely I burned a lot more because I walked around, I played with the kids, maybe I walked up and down stairs a bunch of times. So I kept lifting my kid up and down, so you do burn a lot of calories throughout the day, but it's always a good idea to know where you're starting from. That way, you don't want to overestimate how many calories you're burning in a day, because then you may eat too much and you're not going to lose any weight. But you also don't want to underestimate. I do want to stress this is so important. You don't want to underestimate how many calories you eat, because if you have too low of a deficit, if you're burning way too many calories than what you are consuming, your body's going to slow down and it's not going to work as efficiently, and your metabolism is going to slow down. It's going to be a lot harder for you to lose weight. So you want to find that sweet spot. So as far as with nutrition, going more into that, you want to make sure that you are on point with your diet. At least if you want to see slow progress, 80% of the time. So that's kind of like for, out of all your meals for the entire week, maybe one or two of them were, not that great. So maybe you went over your macros by, 1,000 on one day or something like that. Or 2 days you did it over by 500. So if you want slow progress, then you're going to do something like that. But if you want it to be, and this is basically what I've been doing, if you want a lot quicker progress, and slow progress is like 1 pound a week, maybe 1 pound a week, maybe a half a pound a week. That's like slow progress. Maybe it's 1 week you didn't lose anything, the next week you lost 1 pound, 2 pounds. But great results is like 2 pounds a week. So if you're losing 2 pounds a week, you're doing good. If you're losing any more than that, be careful, because you might be eating too little. And if you're not losing that much, you might be eating too much. So it's a trial and error. You kind of have to see, what works, what doesn't. But I've been doing about 95% of my nutrition on point. So that 5% is usually my cheat or my refeed that I have every other week. And I've been getting really great results. I haven't had a weigh-in. I'll have a weigh-in at the end of this week to see if I continued. But, you definitely, the 95% goes into tip 1, consistency. If you're doing it 60%, you're not going to see results. You're not going to change. It's going to be so slow, and it's probably going to discourage you a lot sooner than it would take for you to actually see something. So nutrition. so important. And I talk about in my last video foods that I eat and things like that, and you can obviously expand your palate and do so many more things, avocado toast and fishes, and you know, you can use seasonings galore like herbs and all that stuff. You can use tons of that. You can add onions to this and mushrooms and things that help, you know, bring a lot of flavor. You can do that. I don't really have the time to do that, and it doesn't bother me that I'm eating stuff, the same stuff all the time. You can do whatever you want to do. Just make sure that the foods you're eating are clean, and you know, try to find things that aren't processed. You can have stuff like that every once in a while if you're able to fit it into your macros. I just wouldn't go too far into that, because what you're gonna find is a lot of things that are processed, while they may fit into your day, you end up not being able to have much more of anything else. So it's always better to do something a lot cleaner, like vegetables, even though it may seem a little bit boring. You know, just add tons of pepper and salt to it and to give it some flavor, and do what you can, because you're gonna be able to eat a lot more than just having that one little thing. I don't know if there's anything more I want to touch on nutrition. I mean, that's a whole video in itself. So if you have questions, leave them below and I'll be more than happy to either answer them or maybe create another video where I go into more specifics. But I think the most important thing to pull from nutrition is, you know, make sure you're eating good foods. Make sure you're eating good foods a majority of the time, about 95% of the time, and make sure that you know what your burn is and that you're hitting your macros, you know, that you're getting there. Knowing what your macros are, make sure you're hitting them. If you are in a deficit, you will lose weight. And when I say know what your macros are, when you do those calculators, it asks you what your goal is. Your goal is to lose weight, gain weight, to stay the same. It'll tell you. So it'll say, well, you're burning this much, but you want to lose weight, so we suggest you eat 1,500 calories. So you eat those 1,500 calories knowing that that calculator is expecting you to lose weight. So that is your deficit. And just depending on how quickly you lose the weight, you know how much of a deficit that is. And then if you have, you know, days where you work out extra, where you maybe work out twice, you could probably afford to eat a little bit more that day. Maybe on the days that you do your refeed or your cheat, maybe you should do 2 workouts that day, and that'll kind of counterbalance the extra calories you're going to consume. So it is, you know, a trial and error and see what works for you. But that's what I've learned, and I'm eating right now 1,650 calories. My BMR is 1253, I believe. So I'm burning probably a couple hundred calories in the gym. I'm not there for that long, and I'm really just focusing on lifting heavy and not like doing any cardio or anything like that, and I'm still losing. So I'm probably doing a daily burn of maybe like 1,800. So I'm doing it slowly. Anyways, the next important thing, and this goes along with nutrition, is to track and weigh everything. You have to. You cannot eyeball it. Do not eyeball it. Unless you are an expert eyeballer and you have been weighing and tracking your food for a very long time, do not do it. Literally, what like a scoop of peanut butter. A scoop of peanut butter may be 250 calories, and if you just add like 10 more grams onto that, which is not very visible, you're looking at maybe 350 calories. I mean, it's such a small amount, but if you end up going over by 150 calories for every meal, you're looking at 600, 700, 800 calories in a day. And that's a lot. I mean, most people don't burn that much at the gym, and if you did burn that much at the gym, working that hard, you are only maintaining your weight. You're not actually doing anything to decrease it. So weigh and track your food, and it's so easy. You look at the back of the packages of the food that you buy. Like if you make a salad, and this is probably the hardest thing to weigh and track is a salad because there's so many ingredients. But you get your scale, you put your bowl on the scale, you zero out the scale, and you either do grams or ounces. Most things are grams unless you're doing proteins like meats, and those are usually weighed in ounces because that's usually what the serving size shows is ounces, but you could always convert it to grams. You put your lettuce in there and you find out how many grams that is, then you write it down, you zero it out. Then you put your tomatoes in there, you find out how many grams it is, write it down, zero it out. Your cheese, zero it out. Your chicken, zero it out. You just add all your ingredients, you zero it out, and you add it all into MyFitnessPal, and it will calculate how many calories, carbs, fat, protein is in that salad for you. And obviously every salad you eat is gonna be different, so you can't just save it and be like, oh, this is what it is, unless you were to do the exact same measurements every time. But that's literally how easy it is. So when you're eating like, you know, a meal of just chicken, you just put your plate on it, zero it out, put the chicken on there, find out how many ounces it is, put it in MyFitnessPal, and you know exactly how many calories and grams of protein are in that meal that you're having right there. I'll even go to the extent of weighing my sauces. Most of the sauces I use have 0 calories, like buffalo wing sauce, hot sauce, but if you were to have ketchup or barbecue sauce or a ranch dressing, you want to weigh them, and a lot of those are in by the teaspoon. So what you can do is you weigh your spoon, you zero it out, you put your sauce in the 2 teaspoon spoon, you find out how much 2 teaspoons weighs of ketchup, and it's like, let's say it's 15 grams. Now you know every time you have ketchup, you need 15 grams equals a serving. It's that simple. It does take a while to get started and to learn the process, but once you do, it's quick and easy. And usually you have your main staple foods in there, like your chickens and your salmon, you have it there, and you can just select it and you can just change the amount of ounces that are on it that time, or the cheese, you just change the grams. It's really simple once you get all your foods dialed in. I wouldn't recommend weighing things by cups because again, that all depends on how small you cut something up or how large you cut something up. A cup of apples is going to be a lot more apple if you dice it down to like little itty bitty pieces versus just chopping it in a couple. So I recommend doing ounces and grams always. If you want me to do a tutorial on that, I'd be more than happy to. Just let me know in the comments, or I can just answer any questions if you have any. You can find a scale on Amazon. There's plenty of them out there. Bed Bath & Beyond is where we got our first one, which we loved until, you know, we worked it to death and then it died and it's no longer. All right, so now that we kind of gotten the 80% of it, which is nutrition, and the tracking and weighing, which goes into knowing that the nutrition that you're getting is solid. So the next thing is workouts. And I think that there's a big misconception on workouts. When it comes to working out, you want to do quality over quantity. And what that means is no matter how long you work out for, when you go and work out, whether it's 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week, for those 20 minutes, you give it your 110%. You make it a good workout. You will push hard, you push past your limit, you just go as hard as you can for those 20 minutes. And you will most likely burn more calories in those 20 minutes than if you were to go and walk on the treadmill for an hour. Or if you were just to go to the gym for an hour and just be like, okay, I'm gonna lift some weights here, I'm not really breaking a sweat, this isn't really that hard, you know. You could work out 6 days a week like that, and you probably will not see the results that you would see if you worked out 3 times a week for 20 minutes and you just gave it your all in those 20 minutes. I see plenty of people online, fitness people, who say, yeah, I only work out 20 minutes a day. I fit it in. And you're like, well, how am I, like, that's crazy. Like, cause I thought you had to work out like twice a day, 6 days a week, and do cardio. Like, I thought that that's what it was to lose weight. And no, you don't have to do that, because honestly, if you did that, you would not stick with it. And that's all about consistency. It's gonna be a lot easier to be consistent going 3 days a week, 20 minutes at a time, than it is 6 days a week working out for like an hour and doing an hour of cardio on top of that. Like, it's just not, it's not fun, and it's not realistic. Maybe in your 20s, when you don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you have time to do that, you have no social life. But let's be real, who has time to spend 2 hours at a gym 6 days a week? Like, no, unless you're going on dates at the gym, then by all means, have fun. But no one has time for that, and I certainly don't have time for that. My gosh. My workouts now have been about 45 minutes, and I do like old school working out where I lift heavy and I take like a 2-minute break, and then I lift heavy and I take a 2-minute break. So my workouts are a little bit longer than they would be if I were to do like a circuit. I'll do 6 to 8 exercises, about 3 to 5 sets each exercise. So I'm trying to always get around that magic number of 30 sets. And if I were to do a circuit and not stop and just do like, 3 exercises in a row, minute break, 3 exercises in a row, minute break, yeah, I could get that done in 20 minutes. But because I'm doing a 2-minute break in between each set, that's what's taking me so long. But again, I'm only at the gym for 45 minutes. I get in, I find what what body parts I'm working for that day, and I try and do like 2 exercises per body part, find my exercises that I'm going to do depending on how busy the gym is. Sometimes it's so busy that, you have to be creative, and you have to, figure out how to do that muscle group without using that machine that everybody's waiting for, and you really don't have time to wait. So I find out what I'm going to do, and I focus on it, I get it done, and then I leave and I go home, and it's late, so I try and go to bed. I think that with working out, that's what you need to focus on. Don't focus on working out as long as you can. Just focus on the workouts that you do, that you are fully engaged with them, and that you are pushing yourself to the limit. And I think that it'll be a lot easier to maintain, and you will still be happy with the results. And again, working out is only like 20% of the results, so that diet, make sure that's dialed in. And then the next thing that I do want to talk about is HIIT, which is high intensity interval training. You might have heard this word thrown around. It's basically cardio, but it's better cardio. So when you think of cardio, you think, running on the treadmill for 20 minutes, or doing the Stairmaster, doing the elliptical, things like that. This is basically doing that, but getting it done more efficiently. So it may take you an hour to burn 100 calories on the treadmill, whereas if you do HIIT on the treadmill, you'll do it in 20 minutes. And what it is basically you want to do short spurts of high intense cardio with a break. So for instance, maybe you'll do a minute sprints on the treadmill, 30-second break. Minute sprint, 30-second break. And you just do that for 20 minutes, and you're gonna burn just as many calories if you were to just steady state run on a treadmill. Same thing, another form of HIIT would be burpees. You do 15 burpees in a row. You want your heart rate to get up really high to where you're like, take your 30-second break, do 15 more burpees, and maybe do that 5 times, and then do something else like mountain climbers, and do that for 30 seconds or 45 seconds and then take a little break. So you want your heart rate to go up and then go down, and then go up, then go down. Because I think the science behind it is when it's going up, you're burning more calories and you're hitting that calorie peak, and even as you're going down, you're still burning those calories. Whereas with steady state, you're burning calories, burning calories, burning calories, burning calories, burning calories, and then you're just kind of like, oh, you're just like burning calories. So it's not, I'm not a fitness coach. I did not go to school for this. This is just from my experience. This is from what I've heard and read online and from what Jake has told me. But the afterburn when you do HIIT lasts a lot longer, whereas I think with steady state cardio, once you're done, you're done. It's kind of, the afterburn's not as long. So the afterburn is your calories, you'll burn more calories after than you would have normally, just by, you know, leaving the gym and just going about your day. I heard somewhere that the afterburn is like 48 hours, but I don't know if that's true. But that's a lot. So don't do steady state cardio, do HIIT. If you enjoy doing steady state cardio, that's awesome. But if you don't enjoy it, which I do not enjoy it, I do not like it, then don't do it. Just do your HIIT, get it done, get it over with, sweat, be good. All right, the next thing that's extremely important is water. Water is so important. Your body is made up of what, 70% water? And your body needs water to function. When you are dehydrated, your systems in your body do not work as well, which means they're not going to burn as many calories. So another important thing of water is it helps you feel full longer and it makes you less tired. So drink that water. And I usually like to drink 1 to 2 ounces per pound. So, I mean, realistically, do I ever get to 2 ounces per pound? Heck no. That's a lot of water. I'm not that disciplined with my water, but you want to try and get about maybe 100 to 120 ounces a day of water, which is, it's still pushing it, but it's a little bit more realistic. Once you get used to drinking that much water, you start to want it all the time, so then it gets a lot easier. And I will warn you, at first you will have to go to the bathroom like every 20 minutes, but eventually your body gets used to it and you won't have to go. But a kind of a rule of thumb is if you're thirsty, you're dehydrated, basically. So drink that water. And then the next tip I will have to say is you want to verbalize and visualize your goals. Verbalizing it just makes it real, and it makes it like you're giving it a commitment, and that's why I started this video series. This is me verbalizing my goals. This is me putting it out there and me staying accountable to myself. If you say that you're gonna do something but you don't tell anyone, or you don't say it out loud, or you don't write it down, it's just kind of in your mind, you already have an easier time to back down from that and to just give up on it. Whereas if you told your best friend or you told the internet, it's going to be a lot harder to back down on your word, because nobody wants to be a liar. Nobody wants to be a quitter. So by me saying that I'm going to, for 12 weeks, do this, I'm going to, you know, not have sugar, or, you know, stuff like that. By me doing that, I'm keeping myself accountable, and I'm more likely to stay on track. I'm not gonna quit. And then visualize your goals. So you want to, and I do this, but you can either look back at pictures of your body when you really liked it. That's always really helpful, to look at yourself when you're like, oh, that's when I felt and I looked really good. And just keep that in your mind. Also, something that always helps me is if I'm trying to get down to a certain body fat percentage, I used to do this at work, but let's say my goal was 12% body fat. I would put 12 on a Post-it and I'd put it right there on my computer, right in the corner. And every day I was working, I would see that 12. And it would just remind me that every piece of cake or cookie that comes in the office that I decide not to eat is getting me closer to that number. So you want to visualize your goals. It can be going on Pinterest and looking up, you know, fitness models that you find inspiring, or Instagram, following a fitness model on Instagram that really inspires you, that has a body that you really want. You have to sit there and visualize it and make it something that you want. And you just have to want it so bad, and remind yourself that that is why you're giving up that drink, or, you know, that pasta. This is why you're working out this hard, and this is why you're eating like this, is because you have a goal. And it may be a number on the scale. Put that somewhere. Write it on the back of your hand, so that every time you look at your hand, you see 120 on your hand. You're like, I want to weigh 120 pounds, or I want to lose 50 pounds, and see that 50. You need to constantly remind yourself of your goal and why you're working towards it, because it is not easy. It is going to be hard. You are going to want to give up all the time, but it's going to be so worth it. You can so do this. There's so many people that do it. I mean, you see all these people that are doing it. You just have to have the willpower and the discipline to do it. And the stronger, I like to always say that your willpower is like a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. So the more times you say no to something, the easier it is to say no. I can't tell you how many times I went to lunch with my coworkers with a protein shake. And they always were like, well, we didn't know you'd want to come because you weren't going to eat. And I'm like, I got my protein shake. I'm good. And I would I'd have the waiter bring me a glass of ice. I'd pour my protein shake in there. I'd have a straw, and I'd be like, oh, this is awesome, while they're eating their pizza and burgers. And I was satisfied enough by watching them eat that I didn't need to eat, and my protein shake was good enough. You can do it, and it became easy, and people just knew that that's what it was, and they didn't bug me about it. Anyone that bugs you about it, screw them, honestly. Like, you are doing this for yourself, and if they can't get behind you and support you, then that's not someone that you would want in your life. And I take this with a grain of salt. I don't want to offend anybody, but if your best friend said that they wanted to run a marathon, would you get down on them when they decided to go out and run to practice? If your friend wanted to lose weight, would you get down on them, or would you support them? Like, that's the thing. You want these people to support you, and they shouldn't give you crap for deciding not to go out to eat with them, or to not have that drink when you go out. I mean, they shouldn't pressure you. If they are, they're being selfish. That's plain and simple. If they're pressuring you to drink when you go out with them and you don't want to because you have goals, they're being selfish, because they want you to drink, either because they don't want to feel bad that they're drinking, or they want you to be, you know, all fun and drinking with them and everything, and, you know, don't do it. Okay, so I feel like I'm rambling, but anyways, visualize and verbalize your goals. Keep them in mind, keep them close by. And then the next two things, I'm just going to put them together because they kind of go hand in hand, but you need good sleep, and you need not to stress. Stressing is just going to, there's a science behind it where it's like cortisone levels, and when your cortisone levels are high, you don't lose as much weight. It's kind of like the fight or flight response, where it's like, you know, you're in a stress situation that all your energy and is going to help you with that stress, so you're not burning calories. You're just like focusing on being able to run faster and get out of that situation. So when you're stressed, your cortisol levels go up, and you just don't burn as many calories because it's dealing with the stress. And same with sleep. When you're not sleeping, your body's just not working as efficiently, and you're just going to burn less calories. So you want to make sure that you're getting enough sleep. I'm sure 7 to 8 hours, maybe 6 hours. I certainly don't get enough sleep, but you want to make sure you're getting as much sleep as you can so that your body can work the way it's supposed to. So I know it's a lot easier said than done with those two. They're lower on my list because I think with all the other things you can still get this stuff done, but you definitely want to try and get sleep and not be stressed. But again, easier said than done. All right, guys, this is a really, really long video. It's a lot longer than I wanted. I'm sorry. I hope you stuck through to the end because I think there are a lot of helpful tips on here. Some of this stuff may just be common sense, but I think there are a lot of people out there that may need this information and have maybe heard it before, but maybe needed to hear it in a way that I gave it. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and if you have any questions, again, please leave a comment below. I'm more than happy to help. If you want me to go into detail on any of these topics, let me know. I'll be happy to make a video about it. Yeah, so comment below. Give this video a thumbs up if you thought it was helpful. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I still have like 8 weeks left of these, so you don't want to miss them. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon.